Welcome back, everybody. This is Artie Decker. We're going to be kicking off the playoffs this week, week one. We're going to get into all of the matchups, but first, let's just take a really fast look at last week and just a few scores here. Athens knocking off Austin. That was a big upset to me anyway. Athens has had a great year, but Austin, of course, being a little bit bigger, you would think would have the advantage. Also, being on the road, but nevertheless, Smothers and company able to pull off the upset in that one. Um, Looking on down the list here, not a big shock there. Clay Chalkville just smashes Gaston City, snapping their little baby win streak there for Coach Sessions and his Titans, sending them out on a losing note. Gordo, Pickens County, we expected it to be a good game, and it absolutely led up to, or you know, uh, come to fruition. Um, you know, Low scoring game, definitely because both of these teams really good defensively. Just traditionally good on that side of the ball, but just a fight. But the Wave managed to pull it out. Looking on down the list, I told you Pleasant Valley would probably keep it semi close with Ohatchee, and they only lose by 20. But that does wrap up a undefeated season for Ohatchee, first one since 1976, I believe. Um, Lamar just smashes Celigent. That battle's always pretty epic over the last 2 3 years. But Celigent struggling this year, coming off that great year last year. But South Lamar's just on a roll, and they prove it in this rivalry game. Decatur takes out Coach White and Sparkman, who just kind of faded over the last part of the season. Got off to a great start, but just like I say, just I don't know if injuries or what, but they just faded as the season went on, and they're actually going to miss the playoffs this year after making it last year. Collins will just try not to get nobody hurt. I'm sure didn't play a lot of their starters, but did enough to get the win over Valley Head, and that just kind of ends the misery for the Tigers and Coach Vincent. Just a dreadful season, 1-9, a whole lot to be built on going into next year. Daphne taking out Blunt. That was a nice win, and I believe it actually put Daphne in the playoffs. So you basically kind of saved their bacon as they were on that fifth spot for the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season, but managed to win some games maybe that a lot of people didn't think they would get, and actually do qualify for the playoffs. A lot of people, I wouldn't take a lot into this win. I mean, Carver Birmingham, good football team, but I don't know. I mean, how much Fort Payne really wanted to win that game is on the road. Didn't really want to get nobody hurt, I'm sure. And if Coach Elmore's like Coach Ellis, he always kind of, put it on cruise control in those last games like that, just trying not to get nobody hurt and get prepared for the playoffs. So I mean, good win for Carver, but not a you know jump out of the window kind of loss for Fort Payne. Benson Valley just rolling over Lee, not a big shock there. Um, Pell City taking out Chelsea. St. Paul's getting them a win going into the playoffs. That was a big battle there between Spanish Fort and Saraland, but and we actually took Saraland. But I mean, you really got to take your hat off to the Toros. They, losing their quarterback. A lot of people thought maybe you would, not be able to go ahead and win the region title after starting out so strong, but we're able to put it together and found a way to knock off Saraland and actually claim that region title. So congrats to the Toros going into the playoffs. Alexandria, nice little win there. Maybe building some momentum as they roll into the first round. Nice win for Anniston. Childersburg, not a bad football team at all, and I expected this to be a battle, and Anniston actually wins it pretty easy in that one. Montevello taking out Lincoln. Not a big shock there. Montevello has quietly had a very good year. Um, Piedmont Geraldine, this game was actually fairly close. It was 7-6 late in the first half, to my understanding, but evidently Piedmont really took over in the second half, and I guess you could say reality set in as Coach Smith and company get the win, and they lock up that first seed going into the playoffs. Cedar Bluff struggles with Gaston, but just finally managed to sneak out of there with a win. Um, Westbrook just putting Sandrock out of their misery. They, a lot like Valley Head, have just kind of fell apart after a decent start to the season, but just it's just gotten uglier and uglier as the year has gone on for the Rock. Waterloo going into brilliant. Waterloo just trying to stay sharp, and they just blow them out in that one. Hubbardsville fighting for their lives, go into Phillips and just get a nice, impressive win there and claim that third spot going into the playoffs for them. Yellsville gets another nice, I guess, win going into next year over ASD, 60-38. Maybe take a little momentum going forward as they continue to try to improve over the last 2 years. Thorsby just taking care of business against Billingsley. DAR just smashing poor Brindley Mountain as they go 0-10, being Brindley. Um, Madison Academy, really impressive win over a good Brooks team. Central Clay just smashing Coach Strain and Hanley in that one. So the Volunteers definitely looking strong going in the playoffs. Susan Moore sneaks out of there just like they have all season, pulling out these games. You get Susan Moore in a close football game, and you're probably going to get beat. That's just the way the season has gone for people that have managed to get in that situation with them as they sneak out of there over Cleveland in that rivalry game. Coach Woods and company, to my understanding, down 35-21 late third quarter, managed to come back, tied up with about 2.5 minutes to go, go into overtime, and get a huge win. You might say, well, they beat a 1-8 football team, but it is a 3A school that has at times looked a lot better than a 1-8 football team. They just find ways to lose, and so the record's a little misleading. So that's a huge win as the Conquerors have now won 4 in a row going into the playoffs. Crossville, just a dreadful year, just kind of falling off the mountain after last year's kind of Cinderella run. But they do manage to finish on a good note as they knock off Plainview. I believe this game was 7-6 at halftime, and they just continued to chip away at them and managed to sneak out of there with 12-7 wins. So congrats to the Lions on that one. But in spite of the loss, Plainview still manages to get in at 3-7. I mean, a lot of people I've had that question asked to me a lot this week. How did that happen? It's one of those reasons. Nobody's really very good, honestly. I mean, you know, I know Geraldine won the region, but they're not a great team. They're a good team, but they are the best in that region, and that says a lot about that region. So somebody had to go basically, and it was Plainview, and it boiled basically down to the fact that they beat Sylvania, I believe, in week 5, and that's just basically the way it turned out. Jasper's had a fantastic year, and they get a nice win over Deschler going in the playoffs. Um, East Limestone, CJ Yarborough getting some revenge on his old team as they smash them. Um, Elba, we talked about this, maybe a little biting off a little more than chew, and Tate Florida manages to sneak out of there with a win in that one. thoughtful, just doing what they do, score a lot of points, and getting another blowout win as they go undefeated. Sylvania fighting for their playoff life. To my understanding, were competitive to an extent in the first half, but Fife kind of warmed down and took advantage of them in the second half as they smashed them and they finished off their perfect season. And Coach Putnam and company, it ends with a going from defending region champions to basically from the penthouse to the outhouse this year as they finish fifth and out of the playoffs. Brantley, a nice win over Goshen. Grissom knocking off Buckhorn, another win for Grissom. Just something to build on. They've had you might say, well, they didn't make the playoffs. Well, it's Grissom. I mean, let's just be honest. And a 4 or 5 win season for them is pretty doggone good. So, congrats to them. It's something to build on. Who knows? Maybe they could sneak in that 4 spot next year. Basically, one of the game of the night. Basically, we talked about this was a great matchup. This would say a lot about both teams. You'd find out who Abbeville really was, and they knock off undefeated Headland with a last-second Hail Mary. The Kinsey twins hook up with about 45 seconds to go and sneak out of there with a huge, huge win for Abbeville in that one. Oaks Bluff, taking off, just blowing off some steam after that heartbreaker last week, smashing Sardis. Holly Pond gets clipped by Fairview. That definitely can't help their momentum going forward. IMG Hoover, like I said, IMG is just a really, really good team. I mean, they're probably top five in the country, not just their state. And they show it as they just smash Hoover in that one. Houston Academy, taking care of business over GW Long. Coach Riggs, man, what can you say? Takes over a team that was 0-10, and he gets there this year, and they go 7-3. I mean, what more do you want? He is a legend for a reason, and he proved it, especially this season. Briarwood, Hueytown, great matchup. We thought, this would be a close game, and it was for the most part. But Briarwood maybe just a little too strong for them as they sneak out of there with a win. James Clements had been really red hot until they lost to Austin, and they dropped this one to Hillcrest. That can't be good for their momentum going into the playoffs. Colbert County just taking care of business over an old foe, Lauderdale County. Luverne, same business there, taking care of Op. Maplesville just taking care of business like they know how to do, basically. Morris Hill taking a bigger classification, being Lexington and just smashing them 47-0 as they just continue to be a buzzsaw. Midfield taking care of a struggling Woodlawn in that one. This was an interesting game. ARAF has definitely shown a lot of improvement over the last 34 weeks, but did not expect them to keep it this close. I don't know how much Witherspoon played, to be honest with you, but the Chiefs only win it 41-22. But it is a perfect season for the Chiefs. So congrats to them and Arab. It was just an end to a very disappointing year and for Coach Glasscock and the Knights. Oneonta gets the close win over JB Pennington. Once again, kind of a rivalry style game there. And that's a nice win for the Redskins as they just continue to surprise people this year, really. Sweetwater just smashes Pike County. I don't know where that one come from. Pike County has had a pretty good year, and Sweetwater not so much. I really don't know. I'm guessing maybe Pike County didn't play their starters. I don't know what to tell you on that one. But that's a great win for Sweetwater, as they're going to need all the momentum they can get as we show you their matchup coming up this week. North Sand, big rivalry game. Pisgah, I'm sure, was coming in there on a high. They knocked off Plainview. They were in really good position to make the playoffs. They didn't have to win, but I'm sure they wanted to win. But Landon Green and company just was not having it. This game was ugly from the start. It was 40-0 at halftime. I'm sure Coach Kirby put the backups in and basically called the dogs off to make it just 40-6. For just finishing up strong with an 8-2 year. That's a great year for them. I believe it's the first year they've had a winning record since 1999. So congrats to them as they actually do make the playoffs this year. Hubbard getting a nice win there. Hubbard is another one of those stories. They were 2-8 last year. I believe they finished up the season at 7-3 this year, being a number 2 seed. So, really congrats to the Chiefs in that one. Russellville with a nice strong win over a pretty good little Central Florence team. Hartsville just smashing Scottsboro 49-0 and just ending Coach Jacobs. I wouldn't call it disappointing, but it definitely was not what they want out of that program for this year. But they do miss the playoffs by a very slim margin. Woodville, just a huge, huge win, and I would call a definite upset over Coach Powell and company. Section have been playing pretty well over the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I expect them to win this game and finish up strong. But Woodville had faded over the last 2 3 weeks, so it's kind of a they were falling down and section was rising, but somehow they managed to pull off like I say, a pretty good little upset and finish up the season strong. Sheffield taking out Cherokee, Southside taking out Cherokee County. This game's a little closer than I thought. I kind of felt like Garden would really put it on Ider, but Ider come to play and fought hard, but just couldn't quite pull it off. To my understanding, this was pretty close until Garden pulled away late, and it was 41-27. So, kind of, I guess, a semi win for Ider to keep it close because Garden's a really good football team. St. Paul taking care of business over Douglas. Douglas just continues to struggle. I believe that's 1-9 for them for the season. St. Luke's, Cottage Hill, great matchup. We talked about this going into this past week, but it really didn't live up to it. St. Luke's, Jermaine Brown and company just all over them from the start. I don't know if the moment was just a little too big for Cottage Hill. I don't know if maybe coach didn't really, prepare them well or what, but nevertheless, big stage and St. Luke's just kind of puts a beating on them. That could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Could be a stumbling block going into playoffs, momentum wise for Cottage Hill, or it could be a wake up call that maybe brings them back down off their high horse just a little and refocuses them going into the games that really count. We shall see. Tallahassee, nice win over Elmore County. Fultondale takes care of business against a local foe there, Tarrant, and very impressive win there. Vina loses another one. Tharptown gets their first win of the season. So congrats to them. Vina just continues to be really bad as they go 0-10. Something had to give basically in that game. Victory quietly has had a pretty decent little season. I believe that's 4-6 for them. They normally are around that 1 to 2 win, margin. So that's a decent little year for them. But they do miss the playoffs by a very slim margin. Viger bounces back. Nice shutout win over Williamson. Randolph County. This game was a little closer than you thought. Like I said, it would be a little closer. It wouldn't be no blowout. But they do manage to go ahead and get the win. But they do shut out a very usually potent offense of Wadley. T.R. Miller finally gets it back on track and gets a win. They dropped 4 in a row. They definitely needed this win going into their playoff appearance. And they do get it, but it ain't by much. So, I mean, T.R. Miller started out so strong this season. We really liked him, and I don't know really what happened toward the middle of the season, but it just got ugly for him, and it's just continued to stay ugly. I don't know if injuries or what, but momentum is definitely not their friend at this point. Weaver gets a nice win over a tough Alabama Christian team. Glencoe gets their first win of the season as they knock off West End. West End got their first win last week, so Glencoe returns the favor and gets their win as they finish 1-9 as well. Ranburne, White Plains knew this game would be close. And absolutely, come to fruition. But I do like, you know, the way White Plains was playing. They played really well toward the last part of the season. I knew it wouldn't be a blowout, but Ranburne does get the win. Red Bay knew this game would be tough. They managed to sneak out of there with a win in that one. Lynn was playing for their lives. They had to get the win, but Winston County breaks their heart late and gets the win in that one and puts Lynn out of the playoffs, puts Marion County in the playoffs. Donahoe been on a tear, and they just continue to stay that way. Another shutout, just smash Woodland. I believe Woodland finishes at 2-8, and Donahoe just gets another win as they just continue to build momentum. And now let's take a look at the final poll of the season, at least for the regular season, going in the playoffs. You got Central Phoenix City still holding strong. Thompson actually at number 2. Hoover up to 4. Not a whole lot changing there. Austin slips to number 10. Bob Jones roughly about number 13. Don't really understand that, as they've kind of had what I would call a very disappointing season after having such high expectations. Spanish Fort actually gets 5 first place votes this week. They're number 2. Hartsville still holding strong at number 4, and they still got their 1 vote at number 4. Athens just barely outside the top 10 at number 11. Macador at 12, Hughtown at 13, and Opelika at 14. And Stanhope Elmore quietly there at about 15. Etowah still holding strong at number 1. Viger actually gets 2 first place votes. Madison Academy gets first place vote this week. Ramsey gets first place vote this week. Mortimer Jordan lurking there at 5. Jasper at 7. East Limestone makes the top 10 this week at number 9. Pleasant Grove's just quietly there at about 13, and Brewer at 14. Looking into 4A, you got Yuma Wright still holding strong at number 1. Jacksonville actually gets first place vote this week, though. They're at number 2. Hopes Bluff at 3. American Christian at 4. Quietly. North Jackson gets 2 first place votes this week. They're at number 5. Brooks drops to number 6. Northside very quietly 9-1 at number 7. Good Hope, another quiet little team there at 9-1 at 9. Headland drops that game and only drops to 10 this week. Montevallo, great year there at 11. St. John Paul, don't really understand that there at number 12. Catholic Montgomery takes a little tumble to 13, and Hillcrest Evergreen at 14. Looking into 3A, you got Randolph still number 1. Mobile Christian gaining a little bit of momentum, though. Got 5 first place votes this week. At number 2, Winfield got 2 first place votes. Also, very quiet season for them at being undefeated. At number 3, Piedmont at 5. Fultondale at 6. Westminster gets first place vote. Little surprising, but they're at number 7. Gordo sneaks up there back in the top 10 at number 8. Thomasville also same way, finishing strong at number 9. Midfield quietly 8-1, and they are at number 11. Pike County about 13, and that would put Geraldine about 15 as they finish up that loss to Piedmont. 5 still holding strong. Ohatchee gets first place vote this week. They're at number 2. As we talked about, first perfect season since '76 for them. Thorsby just kind of has quietly 9-1 this season. They finish up at 3. Luverne at 4. Highland hit home at 5. Abbeville, I told you, great win for them, finishing up at 6. Reeltown at 7. Cottage Hill tumbles after being ranked so high. I believe number 3 last week, all the way down to 8. And Collinsville actually cracks top 10 this week at 9, and Ramburn at 10. Addison at 11. Alice 13, and the Bison of North Sand Mountain at 14 going into the playoffs. Lynette still holding strong at number 1. Linden got for 4 first place votes this week at number 2. Maples with 3. St. Luke's gets first place vote at that very impressive win over Cottage Hill as they are at number 4. South Lamar, told you, great year, undefeated. Going to be a dangerous team in the playoffs at number 5. Faultville still get that first place vote, and they're at number 7. Morse Hill still rolling strong at number 9. Marengo, great year for them at number 8. Elba, great year for them at 7-2, and they're at number 10. The Garden at 11. Wadley, great year for them at 12, and Donahoe rounds it out at 13. So that's your poll for the week, and let's take a quick look into our actual matchups coming into the playoffs this week. We'll just start in 1A and work our way up the board. In 1A, I would definitely go Lynette in a blowout in that one, no problem there. That Sweetwater Maplesville, on paper it looks good, but I think Maplesville will definitely get their revenge after Sweetwater knocked them off in the 3rd round last year on their way to a state championship. So look for the Red Devils to get some revenge in probably a blowout fashion. Billingsley Elba. Billingsley's not a bad team. Elba should possibly have some trouble with them, but they should get the win in that one. Look for, let's see, Coosa Christian has a really good shot of potentially knocking off Donahoe, so definitely put the Falcons on upset alert there. But I mean, if I gun to my head, had to make a pick, it's going to be hard for them to win on the road, and I would probably go with Donahoe by just a little bit. South Lamar blowout there. Winterboro Hubbard could be interesting. Hubbard just kind of faded over the last part of the season, and Winterboro has definitely played well over the last part of the season, so definitely want to put Hubbard on upset alert there. TCC probably going to be a blowout over with Faultville because TCC's defense really struggles, and Faultville's offense is just amazing at times. Pickens County, easy win there. Decatur Heritage, they're a dangerous team. And Spring Garden has shown a little bit of weakness over the last 2-3 weeks. But I do like Garden to probably have a little too much muscle for them and get the win in that one. Waterloo's had a great year, but Hubbard was really picked it up over the last part of their season. So I also want to put Waterloo on upset alert as well. But, that'll all see how that plays out. So let's jump into 2A. You got first of all, I really like Abbeville going into the playoffs. I mean, if I had to, the 2A South is kind of wide open. There's no doubt about that. And 2A in general is kind of wide open because there's just not a lot of really great teams. There's a lot of good ones, but not a lot of great ones. Definitely keep an eye on them as the playoffs progress. Luverne should get a win on that one. Highland Home, same way, taking care of business. Now, Lafayette and Geneva County, definitely want to keep an eye on that one. Put Geneva County on upset alert in that one. Goshen might have a shot of knocking off Cottage Hill. I'm just very curious to see how Cottage Hill handles after that, kind of embarrassing loss last week to St. Luke's. So definitely want to put them on upset alert. Upset alert to an extent for Cleveland. They're not going to beat Fife, but don't be surprised if they hold Fife under 50. Yeah, I know that sounds weird or whatever, but just that would be a pretty good win for them. they play well defensively. They run the football well and play keep away. And would not surprise me at all to see them not let Fife get to 50. Colbert County going into Tarrant, I like an upset there. I think Colbert County, this is their time of year. You look at them traditionally, playoff time is the time that they turn it on, and Tarrant is, kind of suspect, honestly. So I like Colbert County to actually knock them off in that one. Bluff has the 16 game first round winning streak, but they're going into Ohatchee to play on the Creek Bank, and I not without Ivory Star. I just don't see it happening. I don't think it'll even really be close. I expect Ohatchee to win by a big margin in that one. Winston County, at times plays pretty well, but I think Red Bay should get the win in that one. Addison rolls in that one. There won't be any miracle run for Sillinger this year. North Sand, Ramburn, this is going to be a great game. Ramburn at times has looked very vulnerable, and North Sand, if they can get that passing game cranking, it would not shock me at all to see the Bison get the win. And I would go as far as to say that I might even pick North Sand to pull the upset in that one. Sheffield going into Aliceville. Uh, Sheffield's really struggled offensively, and Aliceville's really good on the defensive side. Look for that for a win for Aliceville in that one. Westbrook playing pretty well right now, but I don't think they got what it takes to hang with Caleb Jones and company. Look for Collinsville to win it and probably win it big. Um, Houston Academy playing pretty well as we talked about Jamie Riggs and his tutelage, I guess you could say. But Winfield's just been a buzzsaw. But that could be a close game, but I do like Winfield to go ahead and get the win in that one. Beulah's played pretty well, but I like Thomasville to possibly knock them off. T.R. Miller at times has looked good, but they've kind of faded over the last part of the season, so there's potential there. But probably St. James sneaks out of there with a win. Um, Pat Road, great season, but they're going into Mobile Christian, and I just don't see them pulling that one off. Um, Weaver, one of the best four seeds you'll ever see. Uh, this is going to be a close game. I think they will actually give Westminster their first close game, but I do like Westminster to somehow, some way sneak out of there with the win and hold serve. Um, Pisgah going in the midfield. Uh, midfield has a running back. He's about 206 pounds. He's hard to tackle. And then you got the quarterback. He's about 230. So big old backfield. And Pisgah really struggles to tackle at times. So I think that's bad news for him. Midfield doesn't score a lot of points, but they play really good defense. And Pisgah struggles to score against good defensive teams. So look for this to be low scoring, but I do like midfield to get the win and finally end Coach Pruitt's first season at Pisgah. Piedmont should roll in that one over an improved Clements team. Pennington going into Susan Moore. Um, Pennington's played pretty well, but you know, I don't know. I've got a feeling that Susan Moore's probably gonna get in another one of them close games and somehow, some way, sneak out of there with a win in a really close one. Holly Pond at times has looked really good. I mean, you got to keep in mind they barely lost to midfield, which is a good football team. But losing that last week, it kind of worries me a little bit about them. So I think it'll be closer than you think. But I do like Geraldine to go ahead and get the win and move on forward. Um, Lauderdale Randolph shouldn't even be a game. Like Randolph big in that one. Jason Jones and company, just too much speed, too much athleticism for the Bears. Look for Coach Ledbetter to finish it up at 3-8 in his first season. Colbert Heights, I guess you could call this an upset, but I do like Sachs to win big in that one. They're just too good to, and probably the best three seed you'll ever see going into these playoffs. Looking into 4A, Alabama Christians played a great season, and Lincoln at times has looked a little vulnerable, but I think they'll sneak out of there with a win in that one. This ain't a bad Sipsy Valley team. Hillcrest at times has looked vulnerable, so that you might want to put them on upset alert in that one. Andalusia, same way, played a really tough schedule. Might could knock off Montevello, would not surprise me at all in that one. Um, Look for UMS right to roll in that one. Trinity's not a bad team. Hanley needs to be ready to play some ball. Coach Strain definitely on upset alert in that one. Aniana, they really played Jacksonville well. They played, Hopes Bluff well as well. So it would not surprise me at all for them to give Brooks a game, but I think Brooks might sneak out of there with a close win. DAR, explosive offensively. They kind of uh, had that disappointing loss to St. John 2 weeks ago. And Northside is a good team, but they don't have a lot of playoff experience. And in what little they have had, it's not been good, as they have never won a playoff game. So they definitely have to get the monkey off their back. So it would not surprise me at all to see DR maybe pull off the upset in that one. Rogers is playing really well, but I don't think they'll take out Jacksonville. But it could be closer than you think. Good Hope's playing some great ball. St. John Paul, little shaky. Would not surprise me. And I would actually go as far as to pick Good Hope in that one to pull the upset. North Jackson should roll over Curry in that one. Hopes Bluff taking care of business. Fayette County, too much for Randolph. Definitely put Deschler on upset alert. Anston is a sneaky, sneaky team. Just enough talent to give you problems, and it would not surprise me at all to see them pull a huge upset in that one. Looking on into 5A, Ramsey should roll in that one. That Chilton County team ain't bad at all, so Jackson better be ready to play some ball. Demopolis should take care of business. Beauregard definitely on upset alert, and I would go as far as to pick Pleasant Grove to knock them off in an upset in that one. Viger should take care of business. That's a good Valley team, but it's a really good Briarwood team. So look for that to be a little closer than you think, but I do like Briarwood to go ahead and hold serve. Valley Cubs, at times look pretty good, but Madison Academy's on a roll. Look for them to get the win in that one. As we talked about, the Vols on a tear going into the playoffs. They should take their corner. Etowah, no problem with Gunnersville. Uh, Centerpoint is a dangerous, dangerous team in Russellville. You can make the argument has not played that tough a schedule. So Centerpoint knocking them off would not be a shock at all. Jasper should roll over Silicaga. Southside, even though they finished really strong, is playing a really good, quiet Brewer team. Would not shock me at all to see Brewer get the win and knock them off. Mortimer Jordan should take care of business. And Boaz kind of faded over the last part of the season, and they are taking on a red hot East Limestone team. So look for East Limestone to win it and probably win it big in that one. Looking into 6A, Hueytown taking care of business in that one. St. Paul going into Opelika. Both these teams enjoyed a lot of success over the last few years, but look for Opelika to take care of business in this one and welcome St. Paul's to the 6A playoffs. Daphne, dangerous team. You definitely don't want to see them come into your place. Wetumpka at times has looked vulnerable. Be very interesting to see how this game plays out, but I do like Wetumpka maybe sneak out of there with a close win in that one. Spanish Fort taking care of business in that one. Looking at that Gardendale Fort Payne, I know this is going to trouble a lot of our local peeps, but I'm going to say this. Gardendale, I know the record don't show it, but you look at the body of work. They played some teams that like Pell City, for instance, that Fort Payne lost to, and they beat them 41-21. That really, really worries me. This is a dangerous, dangerous 4 seed in Gardendale. And Fort Payne is definitely going to have to play lights out if they're going to get by them. So I'm going to lean just a little bit towards the Rockets in a upset win over Fort Payne. Athens Homewood, definitely putting Homewood on upset alert. They've been, they've won a lot of games, but it ain't been no easy task, I guess you could say. And Athens has really played well at times and definitely played well against some good teams. Would not shock me at all to see them pull that upset in that one. Pinson Valley just probably going to roll over the Aggies and Dale Pruitt and company, probably in ugly fashion. Um, Hartsville taking care of business over a good little Pelham team. May Jemison just not in the same class as Clay Chalk. Well, that's probably going to get ugly. Decatur's a really good team. They've come out of a really tough region, but Jackson Owen's playing some pretty good ball. So look for this to be a little closer than you think, but maybe Jackson Owen sneaks out there with a win. Hazel Green, great year. Played a really tough schedule, but I don't think they got what it takes to go ahead and hold serve like Oxford to knock them off and upset that one. Once again, Oxford one of the best 3 seeds you're ever going to see. Um, got Leah Montgomery. That's not a bad Leah Montgomery team. And Theodore has shown a little vulnerability over the last few weeks. Look for that to be close. Davidson, a sneaky little team, but I don't think the Red Devils will be having it. And I like Central Atlantic City in that one. Bob Jones probably going to take a whooping from Hoover in that one. Austin, great year, but Mountain Brook just really good 4 seed or 3 seed rather. Look for them to go ahead and pull the upset in that one. And then probably the best 4 seed you'll ever see, the Huskies of Hewitt Trustful going into James Clements. This will be a good game, potentially, but I like the upset. I think Hewitt Trustful wins in that one. And then Florence going into Thompson, that's probably going to get ugly. I like Thompson big in that one. So that pretty much wraps us up. But taking a step back to, I forgot to give out our team of the week. That would go to the Woodville Panthers as they, pull a pretty good little upset over section in my eyes. So we're going to give it to them, ending their season at 4-6, and kind of putting a little sour taste in their local rivals of section. So let's look actually back just a little bit though, and I'll give you kind of my teams to watch for, I guess, the hunt for Auburn. Uh, Definitely Lynette in 1A South. It's probably going to come down to them and Maplesville in a battle. St. Luke's maybe throw them in there, and also Linden. Looking into the north, Marshall is going to be a tough out. South Lamar is definitely going to be in there. Faultville would be a definite team to be looking at, and Pickens County definitely too. Um, that could kind of go either way. Looking at 2A, as we talked about, Abbeville definitely would be a favorite in the South. Luverne, Highland Home, and Cottage Hill would be my other picks in those. And then looking in the North, it's hard not to look past Fife. I know Fife has definitely looked vulnerable at times. Collins kind of had them on the ropes at one point early in the season. They don't really have a passing game, which is, that's kind of normal for them, but they don't really have a lot of depth as far as at running back. They got Anderson, so if you can bottle him up, you're definitely vulnerable. That defense is also, North Sand threw for well over 300, maybe 400 yards on them. So that secondary is definitely vulnerable. So, they're not a great team, but I guess they are your favorites by default going into this season, or this playoffs, rather. Ohatchee would definitely be in that hunt. You could throw Aliceville in the mix, and maybe even Collinsville also, and maybe a dark horse North Sand. Throw them in the mix as well. Looking in 3A, I would probably go Winfield in the South, along with definitely Mobile Christian. That St. James team is dangerous. Thomasville is dangerous. Keep an eye on them as well. Looking in the North, hard to look past Sacs, Randolph, and Piedmont as well. And maybe dark horse, throw Westminster in there too. Um, Looking into 4A, let's look. I would say probably, defending 3A champ Hillcrest Evergreen is a dangerous team. Headland's a good team. Montevello's a good team. Andalusia maybe, but definitely UMS Wright would be my overwhelming favorite as we have picked them from pretty much week 2. Looking into the North, Jacksonville, we've loved them all season. Hopes Bluff as well. North Jackson might be a dangerous team. And you might throw old veteran Fayette County in that mix as well. I mean, it's not been a great year, but they're definitely dangerous. Looking into 5A, Ramsey would be hard to overlook. Viger, great year for them. Briarwood. Um, Pleasant Grove, maybe a dark horse. Keep an eye on them. Looking into the north, let's look at, obviously can't overlook Madison Academy, great year for them. Central Clay County, definitely. Jasper's had a great year. Etowah, fantastic year. Can the offense get going enough to go ahead and propel that defense on deep into the playoffs? We shall see. Mortimer Jordan, definitely keep an eye on them. East Limestone, maybe a dark horse. Um, Looking into 6A, definitely can't look over or overlook Opelika. Don't look at the record, look at the team. Went Wetumpka, they won the 6A South last year. Definitely don't overlook them. Spanish Forks had a great year, and I'd also throw Sarah Land maybe as a dark horse in there. Looking into, and maybe even Macador. Don't forget them. Looking in the north, I would throw, obviously Vincent Valley would be my pick, but we picked them since day one as well. Clay Chalkville, definitely contender. Hartsel a contender. Muscle Shoals. Maybe even a dark horse Athens. You might throw them in there as well, and then maybe even Oxford. Um, Looking at 7A, it's pretty clear cut. I don't think there's a lot of guessing games there. It's probably going to come down to Auburn, Central Phoenix, or McGill Tulane, one of those three coming out of the South. And then obviously the big four of that region. But I would throw Mountain Brook out of the mix in that one. I would definitely make it to be Hoover, Thompson, or Hewitt Trustful. So now you've kind of got my crystal ball as far as my Auburn contenders, and that pretty much wraps our week up. We'll be back with you next week. We'll get you set up for week 2 after this very exciting first week. I'm Artie Decker. This is PSN saying goodbye. And definitely go out and check some of these games out, and we'll see you next week. As always, save a spot on the fence, and God bless.